the meeting to order of the Bardstown Historic Preservation Review Board. This is the November 16th meeting. It's at 6 o'clock. The first thing we will need to do tonight is to approve the minutes for October 19th of 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the minutes have been approved. Motion has been made and seconded. Minutes have been approved. The next item of business we have on our agendas will be swearing in of individuals for the public hearing on the demolition. Rochelle?
Yes, so anyone that is going to speak on the demolition of 208 South 2nd Street, I need to see you, and I need you to raise your right hand for me, please. Okay, Penn, I've got you. Miss Hall, there we go. Chuck and LaDonna, so both of you just raise your right hand for me, please. Okay, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If so, say I do.
I do.
Excellent. Okay, so we have everyone sworn in.
Very good. And on COA 197, this is the property at 208 South 2nd Street, and the applicant's owners are requesting permission to demolish the structure. If my board, you've had the opportunity to review this and to read the engineer's report that accompanied this.
What's the number on that one, Pat?
197. Okay, and the engineering review starts on page 9.
And we opened the public hearing at 6:03 p.m., right?
Okay. That's what I have now. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so Chuck and LaDonna, if you want to give, if you want to talk about this, do we want to go ahead and open that up for you all to go ahead and speak, please?
LaDonna, you have to turn the volume on your set.
No, we can't hear you.
Look on your screen. I forgot to do mine, is why I know.
Are you muted?
She's not muted.
This is a pain.
Look at the bottom right under your picture.
Mine's up at the top.
Oh, okay.
Mine's at the top. If you click the top above there's a black bar there. If you touch it, that's the way mine works. And the mute button and video and all that comes up at the top.
Okay, I just got a message from our IT department. You may have to leave the meeting and join it back, LaDonna, because there might be some issue with that. So you may try to leave the meeting and then re-click the link to join the meeting.
Okay. So let's give them a minute to join us back. Welcome, Josh.
See his name and I don't see his picture,
Yeah,
his face.
he's sneaky like that.
Yeah, Josh, we got to see your face if you don't mind.
Wasn't complaining, don't yell at
It's for legal purposes.
him. Okay.
Oh, good. LaDonna, any? No.
Okay, on
No.
my screen, try this, down at the bottom, move your mouse around, down at the bottom, left corner, do you see something come up that says mute and stop video? Can you click on mute? Does it do anything?
Did you turn it up?
Or no?
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, very good. So as
All right.
yes, please.
Go ahead, Pat. No, you go right
I
ahead.
was going to say, as Rashae had just said earlier, if you'll just give us why you would need to demo this house. What are your reasons?
Okay, we actually bought the property thinking that we could potentially keep the original two-story part of the structure and just remove the addition and fix the home up. As my husband got inside and started, I guess, stripping down the inside, he realized how bad the structure was and how unsound it all was. So then, of course, we talked to Rashae. We had the engineer come in. The engineer himself, I'm sure y'all all have become familiar with the report. Literally, he came and did the evaluation the day he got to the top of the steps, and he wouldn't even step into the original structure on the second floor. He was very concerned with his safety when he walked in there. But I know he's took a lot of pictures. He's put those on there. We took pictures that we put in the application as well when we realized how bad it was. I think he's even made statements, the engineer did, that even if we tried to preserve and lift it, put a new steel plate on it, try to stable it up and get it to where it was pure and sound, that there would be nothing left of the original historical value of it. There would be nothing there. It was pretty much we would lift up, rebuild, and it was going to be a new positioning there. So we come to the conclusion that we didn't feel we could save anything with the structure that is actually there now. So then we started taking steps into looking into just asking to demo it and rebuild and try to build something that, you know, was appropriate for everyone and for us to be able to build it and live in that home.
Okay.
The biggest thing, I know Frankfurt, they were talking about the seal plate and that kind of stuff, but that house actually is not built that way. This house is built totally different than what you would think it is. There is no seal plate. It's only 4 corners. And the only thing that's even holding this house up is the exterior siding. Literally nothing there between the water damage, termites, and just a sinking foundation. There's nothing left.
Okay.
The engineer himself actually even stated in the report that this house was not, the original structure was built very well to begin with. And then, of course, you know, over the years and the decay and everything else that went on with it, you know, it's just, there's really not much there for us to work with.
Okay. Board members, do any of you have questions?
No, I don't really have any questions about anything that she has said. To this point, I mean, I'm by that house. I'm in that part of town all the time, and that house has been standing there, falling down for a very long time.
Yes.
No, I'm not at all surprised that it's in that condition. My concern with approving something like this is that that house was allowed to stand there for years with absolutely nothing being done to stop the damage from continuing.
Yes.
And, you know, I have Mrs. Hall, I don't want it to sound like my comments are harsh towards you all. I mean, this is not something that you caused to happen, but, you know, to let a property deteriorate, and I guess that's something that maybe needs to be addressed somewhere else, to the point where it gets to where this one is, where really, I mean, I would agree, just from driving by, that there's no way that house can be preserved or saved. And then looking at the engineering report, that, you know, that just driving by appears to be correct. I mean, it's a mess, and it's beyond hope.
Yes. And I'm with you. It's
that things are allowed to get beyond, you know, where we have properties around that are just being left alone with the windows open. The windows, you know, the windows are broken out of this house and have been forever. There's been all kinds of issues with this home that could have been addressed years in the past, and now it's been unloaded on these folks. And they are asking for permission to tear it down. That's my concern. I just had to say my piece there.
yes. So we need to do a talk with Shay about preemptive movements. Yeah, with existing owners. But I'm glad that the Halls have purchased it, so we see some resolution.
Yeah, God love you. I mean, there does need to be something done with that property. It's hazardous, actually, for people.
It is.
Well, it is at my back door, so I'm very glad that you have taken it, because we've lived here for 3 years and it's been vacant the entire time and, you know, in bad repair.
I
And
think,
I wanted to read part of the engineer's report for the record, if that's okay for everyone,
Yes,
just
please.
so we have that on here. So the structural engineer report stated that the construction methods of the two additions appeared to be of very poor quality. The structures were observed to have no foundations, and the ceiling joists were observed to be scabbed together in some areas. Ceiling joists of the lean-to structure were toe-nailed to wood siding to the original structure, and roof rafters were spaced erratically, with shims required in several areas between the rafters and the sheathing. The structure was visibly deflecting and leading at the time of the inspection. The original two-story structure appears to have been originally constructed with several deficiencies. The floor joists in the first set of floors were spaced approximately 30 inches on center to center. Based on the magnitude of deflections observed at the time of the inspect, appeared to be undersized to carry the loads associated with those spaces. Several members observed have failed and were failing at the time of the inspection. The bearing wall for the joists had no regularly spaced wall studs, and they were constructed to support the joists were deflected and were failing as well. There appears to have been an attempt in the past to re-support the ends of the first floor joists with a single treated 2x4 member, bearing the load solid area on some masonry blocks, but much of the floor was well below what appeared to be the original floor level and bearing on a combination of the ground rocks and random masonry blocks underneath the structure. Based on the observation and findings noted above, it's the professional opinion that the building is structurally unsound in its current condition, and extensive repairs would be needed to made for any attempt to repair the structure. So that was just part of the summary of what was given by the structural engineer regarding this particular property, which of course doesn't bode well. but I wanted to have that on the record and for other people that were in the audience tonight to understand that report and the severity of that report and what it entailed. I wanted to ask, is there any other board members that wish to speak regarding this?
I would like to know the plan for the demolition. Sorry, Suzanne. The plan for the demolition. What is your timeline? What is your?
Well, what I've seen around town, what most people have been doing, looks like to me, is just get some big dumpsters from the landfill and have Craco just put it all in a dump. I don't think it'd take a half a day to get it removed and cleaned up.
Of course, they can't consider that until we pass it and the city council passes it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to know a plan, if it was to be done soon and then to rebuild soon. And
Oh yeah, that if we get approved, we'll plan on it'll be tore down immediately.
The tear down, I don't think it's going to be a problem. The rebuilding might be,
Just
I mean, we're starting to hit into the winter. So just depending on weather permitting, but I mean, we're excited to start on it as soon as it is allowed. We've been working really hard with Roche and Music and a lot of different suppliers and trying to make sure that we're picking out material that is appropriate for the building of the home in the historic part of the town, trying to make sure it blends in and everything is, you know, up to par with approval. So like I said, I mean, we're definitely excited to get started on it as soon as we get your blessing and are allowed to go from there.
Okay, so
Suzanne, did you want to speak?
No, I was just going to say that the only issue before us is whether this should be demolished, and I'm ready to make a motion. I also believe that we should incorporate by reference for the record the engineering letter. Then we don't have to read it in; it will be a part of the record.
Got it, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mr. Bogart, you were also sworn in. Would you like to speak at this time?
Right. Excuse me, just briefly. I'm in favor of demolition, and it's sad to see a National Register house slated for demolition, but because of the way it was built and its neglect over the years, and reading the engineer's report that came with this application, the only alternative would be to have the applicant tear it down and rebuild it again. You wouldn't want to force that on anybody, and then you wind up with a house that is no longer historic anyway. I think for that reason, there's no alternative. It has been in that condition for at least 30 years. I went up the stairs about 8 years ago, and I didn't go in the room either, but I kind of leered back coming back down the stairs. So all of which is to say is that the house actually should have been torn down a long time ago, because the way it was built, as we have found out, which we didn't know that until the engineer's report, but because of the bad construction and the deterioration over time, sadly, there is no alternative. I think what I think it was Mr. Kipper said, let this be a lesson for other houses that are at risk. There are several of them that need to keep an eye on, so that they currently have people living in them when they're currently owned and not rented out, to be careful that they don't deteriorate to the point where the owner comes in as an applicant and wants to demolish it when actually under that person's watch it's deteriorated. I read their application for what they wanted to build, and I was really impressed with the fact that really what they want to do blends in, I think, really nicely in the neighborhood. The height of it is what, 1.5 stories roughly. It's not going to be a 2-story house, so that will fit in nicely on that block and in the surrounding area. The design, taking the craftsman elements for it, is really nice. So you're not you're not copying a house somewhere, but you're designing your own house that has craftsman features to it. And you're saving the tree, apparently, that large tree. That's a good thing.
We like the tree.
Yeah, that's good. I have a couple of concerns, and one is when you were talking about a few minutes ago about how quickly you could demolish that house. My concern is about the asbestos shingles on the, at least on the interior or the original central part of the house. You could see them exposed on the back, and I assume they're on the other three sides. What I would like to know, as you demolish that house, what are you going to do, legally and environmentally for abatement of the demolition of asbestos shingles so they don't all get crumbled up into pieces and the fibers come out into the air? And the other thing I wanted to speak to was, I did see what your choice of paint was, and I know I'm probably getting ahead of it here, but it's all part of demolition and new construction. Since you plan to build a craftsman's type of house, I would really strongly suggest not using navy blue as body color. It's not an appropriate color for craftsman houses. They use almost always earth tones, reds and greens and yellows and so forth. But navy blue, it pops out, but it's not a traditional or appropriate color for a craftsman style house.
Okay,
Wanted
so
to keep that in mind.
Penn, we'll be talking about that after we close this public hearing, then we go back to their home itself.
All right. Sounds good. Well, that's all I had to say, but I think it's a great idea, and wish good luck for the new construction of what will be there.
Very good. Thank you. So may I entertain a motion? Suzanne?
Wait, we have to close the public hearing
Close the
first.
meeting. We don't have to.
So we have to close the public hearing.
Meeting.
Yeah, so we close the public hearing at 6:23 p.m. and then open the regular meeting at, it just turned to 6:24 p.m. That was convenient. And then now we entertain, is there any further discussion from anyone?
No, I'm ready to make a motion if you are ready to hear it. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-197 based upon the following findings. The demolition of the building is consistent with the demolition standards set forth in Section 7 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, so halls, we have permission for demolition after student council. The city council talks about that at their next meeting. Let us now go to 198, which is the request to build the new building.
Hey, David, fine.
Let me get mine open, I'm sorry.
So
Okay.
this is for the new construction of the building,
Hey,
and tonight we're
Can I
trying to
call
do,
back? I'm in a little meeting.
hold on.
Get on
Johnny,
mute.
Dave, you need to mute.
let's see.
Or somebody. Okay, I think we're better.
Yes,
Yes, so this is the new construction, and there are the schematics at the end of this. My iPad has to catch up. Okay, so starting on page 10, you've probably already looked at these and studied these for the craftsman style home that the home is talking about. Did we have any questions about these?
so I want to go through the details one by one, Chuck and LaDonna, if you don't mind. So we're trying to do this in one application, which has been recommended. But I want to be very careful and go over each detail so that we have that. So the roof schematic is that it will be a metal roof that is the charcoal color, and it will be the It'll be the Quick Seams Plus, Mancina metal, which is on the application, and it'll be about 14 to 16 inches seam to seam with a 1-inch seam. And that is what we want that to be. We want that to be flat in between the seam to represent standing seam, a traditional more so standing seam metal. So you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've got, that was the roof. The siding you proposed is hardy plank siding. And I can't see my actual, hold on one second. There you go. Right here, we have the 2 colors proposed. One is the deep ocean. This is the deep ocean. And this one is the evening blue, but they're hardy plank siding. And then whenever we do hardy plank siding, we do it smooth side out.
Right.
So that the fake wood grain texture isn't part of that, that it's the smooth side with that. But that's part of that requirement with that. But that is what is presented.
What were
and I'm
those
going-
two colors again?
Yes, the name of the 2 colors.
Yeah.
We have deep ocean,
Okay,
and then we have evening blue.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And I think pretty much the deep ocean, the darker of the 2, was what we were pretty much going with for the majority of the house siding. The midnight or the lighter blue was going to be in the eaves, gables, I guess is what you would call them. They're, you know, in the front, just to kind of offset the siding. Now I know we have to do the smooth side, and we're fine with that. But there was actually the one that has the, I dropped it off with you, Rashay. It has like the, almost like.
The textured?
Not the textured, it's kind of like alternated where it looks like, because we couldn't do scalloped
It looks
side.
like cedar shake.
Yeah.
I've got that right here too. So in the eaves, right here, the staggered edge panel.
Staggered, yes.
Right there.
Correct.
So that would be within the eaves of the house, correct, LaDonna and Chuck?
But we're facing the front,
The gable end.
the gable ends facing
Got it.
over the porch and, you know, and so forth.
Okay. Yes, we have that, and I have that on there. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure the staggered was listed to let them know. And what the staggered was going to be in the lighter blue. We originally were looking at the green earth tone versus the blue and trying to make a decision, but knowing that we have to use white handrails and posts and columns and stuff, we kind of felt like the blue went better with white versus the green being with the white. But if we had to go with white, then we kind of decided we'd rather have the blue color if we could.
Well, you can always come back for different colors if you change your mind too. And I wanted to discuss with the board because we've gotten clarification that columns and things of that nature need to be white.
Right.
But I wanted to discuss how they felt about the new construction of these particular columns and if they felt that that was something they wanted to continue with as well.
So are they saying that you can't even use a cream color?
No, I think cream is appropriate as well.
Okay. That's, yeah. So those light shades for columns now is, because that's brand new, right?
It is brand new.
Yeah. Since we just painted some charcoal.
Where did the clarification come from? I'm sorry.
It came from the state. That traditionally all columns were light, white or cream.
Okay. So, and that's not what the question we were talking about here. So was it, are we just on paint right now?
Yes, because
we decided. So I'm okay with the staggered edge on the eaves. My question, well, it's not a question about the painting, but we were told that we were not to limit painting choices as long as they're within a historic palette. So that would mean that the hall's choices need to be approved.
Within reason of being appropriate, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So within reason of being appropriate with that. So we can hold on to paint colors and then come back to that, I think, and then
I know.
continue on.
In y'all's paperwork, y'all have approved the dark blue now. That's like a new color that y'all just approved being able to use. And I know like right beside the new 5-star right there on 150, when you're coming up to the 5-star, there's 2 little houses right there that just was remodeled. And one of those is that dark blue. I don't know if it's a craftsman style house. It's got a porch across the front. It's a smaller, shorter house. Would you call it craftsman?
It's a vernacular.
Is it okay? But I mean, that's the color we're going with, which was, you know, one that evidently is been approved on y'all's list. We were trying to follow the guidelines and stay where we needed to be and pick from the things that we felt the board was okay with because of, you know, being in.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay with that. Okay, so we've gotten through that. And then we've gotten through siding, the windows. So the windows, you do have choices, and I don't know exactly which one you would prefer, but it can be aluminum clad for new addition as well. So it can be either wood or aluminum clad. So did you all present aluminum clad in the application?
I think so.
You've got copies of all that I sent you from Busick, the doors and windows. You should have all that. And it met the restrictions that you gave us as far as being.
I'm looking.
Right. So let's see.
I would say I don't think any of that was with the original application. It's what me and you've been working on since then when we realized we were building versus remodeling.
I've got them. And they're the
Okay.
square windows, right?
Yes.
The square top windows.
Yeah.
Are the 3/1s?
Well, they are, but they're smaller. They're squared instead of the full
Yes.
3/1s.
Yes. Yeah,
We tried to keep the feel of the 3/1s, even though it's not a true 3 with it, you know, being the partial 3 at the top, because the home that we're going to be demolishing had the 3/1 in it. We were trying to keep with the same feel and keep that same visual to go along.
and any board member on our page 13, one of the schematics shows that small 3/1 window.
Okay, and I'm looking at that right now.
So that's good.
Let's see. And they are SDLs, which is simulated divided light. So they have to be an exterior button, an interior divider, and then an interior button on the inside to appear true divided.
Now, is that with new construction, or was those stipulations just for if we were remodeling the old home?
That is what the National Park Service approves for new construction.
New construction. Okay. All right. Which we meet because that's all we follow those guidelines when we pick those out.
Okay. Okay.
Good. That's great. So what's
Okay.
after windows, Rashay?
Going down the line. Hold on, let me get my list. So the doors, you have the patio and French doors, which are included on the application.
Correct.
And then you have the front door with the side lights that are also included on the application. So we have that there if the board has any questions regarding that particularly.
Now,
And then
there is a back door that leads off of the back that is just going to be where that patio door was, the 3 panels with one door that opens.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
the one door that comes in from the carport, the end of the carport, it's separated by 6 feet, but it is just going to be the single panel door, but it's going to look just like that. It's just going to be one panel instead of the 3 panels.
Okay, and we can look at that on our page 22.
Yes.
Okay, the 2 and the 3 panel.
Okay, and then, so we've done doors, and then the foundation is it's a limestone-like foundation, correct, LaDonna? Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Well, I mean, it'll technically be
It'd be,
poured concrete with that
yeah, it'd be,
that rock that I gave you the samples of, the limestone looking, that will be what actually shows. But it'll actually be a true concrete foundation where you pour the concrete, and then that's just going to be the skirting around
Yeah,
the bottom,
it's a rock skirt.
Okay,
trying to make it blend in with the rock wall that currently separates from the streets where we have that in the steps already, trying to blend that in together.
Okay.
and you will be keeping the rock wall and the steps, correct?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's the reason we're going with that limestone skirting to go around it, is trying to make that blend in with that as well. Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Very good.
And I believe if I've missed anything, LaDonna, Chuck, let me know, but that's the basis that I went through with the components that require for the house. So have I missed anything with my list?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so. I think that's all the items that we went through trying to make sure.
Yep.
It was making it as historically fitting as we could. Yes.
Okay. Does the board have any questions about this or any of those components?
I do not. Anybody else? If we do not have questions about them, then may I have a motion? On 21-198.
I will move to approve COA 21-198 based upon the following findings: that the new construction of the house as presented and described in the application is consistent with the new construction standards set forth in section 5 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
Okay, and Nick seconds. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the home plans are approved as they are
Well, they
on
still.
all the areas that we spoke to. And then Rashay, I believe then we'll come back as far as lighting goes and
Yeah, so landscaping, lighting, the smaller details, you'll just come back to us for that. And, come back for approval for that for us in city council. We don't have those particular details yet, but we do have the majority of the details that were just reviewed.
okay. And with the detail you went through specifically, this is the first time we've done one of these giant ones. And I just want to be clear. When the person accepts it, makes the motion as Suzanne did, we do not need to go through all the roof siding, window specifics again.
No,
Okay.
no, that's only if we have conditions on them. Like, for instance, if we didn't like something that was presented, it would be a condition that it would be something else.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
I ask a question here. All of those smaller details, lighting, landscaping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is there some way that we could set this motion up to allow staff approval on that instead of making everybody come back with a separate, with another COA? Just as
Once-
part of the question, I'm just asking a question.
Well, once I get the application, if I feel it's something I can give provisional approval for, Nick, I may deem that. And if not, then it may need to come before the board. But I'll review that.
Okay, great. So we now are ready to look at COA 218, which is for the carport at this same address.
Chuck and LaDonna, do you want to describe the carport to us, please? And the carport will not be larger than the house. It will not be any
No.
taller. That's what I
No.
wanted to make sure of. Okay.
No, it's same height. It will be separated by 6 feet, so it is not attached. There will be no roof attachment between the house and the carport. It is just going to be where the driveway comes in off the alleyway and comes up. We had discussed a garage. We decided maybe just a carport, just so that way we had some protection, but maybe entertainment area if we wanted a swing or, I mean, just whatever there. So pretty much it's going to blend in identically with the house. I believe it's going to have the pillars that go up part way and then the columns that go up that will match the front porch. The carport will be strictly behind the house. You can't see it from the front view, period. It just is directly behind the house. It's 6 feet away from it. The roof line will match up with the house line, and it's going to be made pretty much mirroring the look of the home.
Okay. And we have that site plan on our page 18.
Yes.
That we,
And the site plan for the carport and the house has been approved by planning and zoning.
yes. Yes, so that's all good. Does anyone on the board have any additional questions for the halls? Then may I entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-218. The motion is based on the following findings: that the new construction of the carport is consistent with the new construction and accessory structure design standards set forth in sections 4 and 5 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion is carried. And Ms. Hall, just again with everything, wait till city council meets next week. And then you're free to begin. You'll get a letter from Roche and everything.
Oh, okay. So once the city council gets together, has a meeting, Roche will contact us with a letter or so forth, telling us that everything's good to go and we can start demolition and building if weather permits.
Yes, exactly.
That is correct. Yeah, and you don't have to attend the city council meeting. I'll be there on your behalf. So
wonderful.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you. So we're done. We can leave.
Yes,
you can leave.
Thank you all so much. Y'all have been so helpful. Renee, Roche, I know you've had to help me a whole lot with all this, and I thank you all for allowing us to do this and hopefully build a beautiful home and be a part of the historic community up there.
Yeah.
Thank you, LaDonna. You've been wonderful to work with too. And Chuck, I appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, well, that's good. So we're ready to turn the page and look at COA 215 with Billy Edlin is waiting for us about a sign. So Willie, you're representing the owner at 108 West Flagey.
That's correct.
And give us a little rundown on your sign, please.
Okay, it's going to be 29 inches by 44 inches. It's going to be 8.8 square feet. It's going to hang off the building where the picture shows you. It's not going to be on that particular mount, but it's going to be identical mount moved down over top their windows.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we've already approved with Reginald Mudd putting the two new mounts up, so that's good.
Okay.
So does the board have any discussion about the lettering or the pictures on the sign? Or are we good with that?
Good to me.
Okay, great. May we have a motion then?
Sure. I move to approve COA 21-25 with the following conditions. The sign is consistent with the sign standards set forth in section 4 of the board's Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second the motion.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
Thank you all.
very good. Thank you.
Right.
So next, now we have COA 21-217, and this is for the sign next door. And this is for Dave's Signs, is who's going to talk to us tonight.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
You want to describe the sign to us real quick, please?
Absolutely. It's basically there's a existing frame there, or existing bracket there. It will hold a 3 foot by 3 foot, so it's 9 square foot double-sided sign.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
And I think that I give Rashay some examples. Here's right here on my screen right here. You can see.
Yes, and we have a copy in our file also.
Okay, thank you. So basically, it's a magenta faded into a pink, pretty simple lettering.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Dave? It looks good to me. The pictures are non-distracting, so I'm good with it. Would anyone?
It's made out.
Yes, please.
I was simply going to say it's made out of the same exact material as several all the way down 3rd Street. It's the 1/4 inch aluminum dye bond. It lasts forever. It really does good.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-217 with the following conditions based on the findings that the sign is consistent with the sign standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have approval for the sign, and you're just now waiting for the city council's approval next Tuesday.
All right, thank you very much for your time, and Rashay, appreciate your help.
Not a problem, Dave. Thank you.
See you all.
So now we should be looking at COA 214.
Lisa.
Is Miss Tatum here?
She is. Hi, Lisa. Happening. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Do you want to talk to us about your driveway, please?
Sure. So last month's meeting, my parents had to attend for me. I was at work. We got approved for, am I echoing really bad? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Great. Okay. I got approved for a driveway at the rear of the property. There had already been a curb cut out, so I just thought it would be the easiest thing, but it's actually not even, my address is John Fitch, but it was on 2nd. Well, when it got time to actually come and do the driveway, Brent Willett came back and there's an elm tree at the property line. And he said that if we go to dig out the hill for the driveway, it'll kill that elm tree. There's a telephone pole, and because of the telephone pole, it would be pushing me really, really close to the property line. It's a busy street with all the school buses, and being on a hill, he was just saying that gravel would, roll out. So on the front of the house, it's really flat. I talked to the tree board, and Philip Grubb said I could move the tree 3 feet. I already talked to the engineer about putting in the curb and keeping the sidewalk and all that, and that's approved. Janet Planning and Zoning approved. I think it would look a lot nicer being at the side of the house. It's on a less busy, wider street.
Okay.
And there is a little stipulation with this one, which Lisa has talked to Philip about, so that the tree in the right of way would have to be removed and moved 3 feet like she had stated. And so if the tree dies, another tree of the same species and equivalent size as it is now should be planted back, and this will be completed at the homeowner's expense. And this should be a condition if the driveway is set approved.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I see on our page 7 where it will come off of the front there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John Fitch. Okay. Any more discussion from the board? If not, does someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-214 with the following condition: that if the transplanted tree dies, then it will be replaced in kind at the owner's expense.
Thank you.
My motion is based on the following findings: that the driveway is consistent with the site and streetscape standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second the motion.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the motion passes, and you'll just need to wait for this city council on Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks,
Taylor.
Lisa.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I'm sure I'll see you for something next month.
Okay.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night.
Okay, so our next 2 items are for Sam Lacey and Nika Mathis. Do we have either of you guys here?
They're both here.
Yep,
Oh,
we are
good.
both here, and we also have Dave Cook, our contractor,
Yes.
on the speakerphone, so he can kind of chime in if he needs to.
Okay, so if we're on 209, that's for the request to replace the back porch and actually put a deck on, right? 209.
Well, there's a deck there currently, and we're just replacing the deck. So the deck currently is, and you've got all this in your documents, is,
Yes.
is 30 feet wide, spans the entire rear of the home lengthwise, and then is about 13 foot 4 inches in width, or it extends out into the backyard. And what we propose to do is change the footprint just slightly. So it will maintain the same 30 foot 4 inch width across the rear of the home, but go out another 1 foot 8 inches to 15 feet total into the backyard. And we will move the stairs. Currently, they're off the back of the deck. We will move them to the side of the deck.
Yes.
Just it's more functional and aesthetic for us.
Very good. And Sam, we were looking at the material. I know the regs all say that we prefer wood, but what is it that you're looking at now for a material?
Well, we would ask that we would be allowed to do a composite wood, and for several reasons. Composite wood is made to look like real wood. And so I know that one of the stipulations is public right of way, but really when you're looking at this home from a public right of way, you're 40 to 80 feet away. Composite wood, you can't tell that it's any different than real wood unless you get right up on it. And it is more sustainable. It lasts longer. It stays cool. It does not splinter. So real wood, we would probably need to replace after about 15 years. We'll get much more life out of composite wood, and nobody from a public right of way will be able to tell a difference.
Okay.
Yes, Dave's gonna chime in here.
They've approved the fence around through there.
Yes.
So you can't see the decking from any right of way all the way around anyway.
Just the driveway side. You see it from the driveway side. Yes, it's
off the top. You won't be able to see the deck flooring.
Correct.
Any right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't see the deck flooring from any right of way just because of the angle. And then, yes, we do have a fence already approved from you all that will frankly cover up quite a bit of the deck from a public right of way.
Oh, yeah. I had forgotten about the fence, yes. Okay, the second point on this is the material for the balusters, for the railings and balusters. And the composite wood for the hand is good. Is there a reason you weren't going to go with the wood or the composite for the balusters?
We just thought that the black 1x1 metal was kind of fit the look of what we were going for a bit more. And that was it. Rashay and I talked, I clarified that we are doing the wood on top,
Yes.
so where you rest your hand is a wood. We just thought that the black metal was going to kind of give us the look that we were going for.
It complements the iron railing in the front of the house.
And it complements, we have an iron handrail in front of the home, up those stairs there, and it kind of works in tandem with that.
Very good. Yeah, moving those stairs makes it look much more efficient.
Correct. Yeah. And the aesthetics from the backyard will be much improved.
Mm-hmm. Do I have further questions from others on the board?
Are we discussing the brick column side view right now? Or is that
No.
different? Oh, that's different. Okay.
This is just the deck material itself and the rails above, on the deck.
Okay.
Are the bricks on this one also?
They are.
There's
There's the very last page, I think. I don't know if it's on.
Thank you.
To see.
Yeah. Okay, so no more discussion on the handrails then. And I'm just looking for that now.
Hey Sam, your wrought iron is ready.
Dr. Blackman, did you have a comment about the brick columns?
I just didn't know if that was part of the discussion. We hadn't mentioned it, and I saw it on the diagram. That's all.
Yeah, so it definitely needs to be discussed as well.
Is that going to be all around on all sides, or is that just the one side? No.
Sam?
He's on the phone.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave had a question for me. I'm back with you.
Nikki. Oh, there you
Couldn't get on the Zoom, so we have him on.
Yeah.
On the phone.
So page 10, where you, Josh, you want to ask your question again?
I was just asking about the brick columns, if that was going to wrap all three sides of the deck, or if that was just going to be the one side that was shown.
It would. It would wrap all three sides, and Dave and I have spoken. There will either be 6 or 7 of those, and then separated by. We'd like to use the existing wood from the deck and repurpose that to do the kind of these vertical slats in between the brick columns, because we'd like to enclose underneath. We have air conditioning units and some stuff that we'd like to hide and make it a nice clean look.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that feature.
But
And
what
that
Dave was
brick
saying is that
is-
the flooring will not be visible from a public way in any form.
No. And I can show you, I took some pictures today. I took pictures from the sidewalk to the rear of the home, and you will not be able to see any of the floor. Correct.
From the public way because of the fence and due to the angle of that.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I can share my screen if you need to see that, but yes, I'm looking at that photo I took now.
So, we're good with it? So that's, do I have a board member that's willing to make a motion on 21-209?
I'll move
Go ahead.
to recommend approval of COA 21-209. My motion is based on the following findings. The replacement of the back porch is consistent with porches, steps, stairs, decks, rear elevations, and new construction standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Board. I would also ask that the record be supplemented with the documents that were tendered to us.
Very good. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Nick?
I said aye.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you. All right. So then, Sam and Nika, you would just have to wait till Tuesday for
I've got
this.
one more, Pat.
And now we need to look at 216, which is also with you guys.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the request to pave the driveway to the property. Does the board have any questions about this? It's pretty straightforward. To put a blacktop driveway in where there's not a driveway presently.
My question would be if I could make a motion.
Go for it.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-216. The motion is based on the following findings: that the driveway paving is consistent with the site standards and the site and streetscape standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I heard a second. I think, was that Susan?
Suzanne.
Suzanne, thank you. Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. No one opposed. So that has also then been approved for you guys. So good. Have a lot of fun with your new projects after the city council moves on, and we'll see you maybe next month.
Yes, ma'am. Will do. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night. Okay. So there we go. We are now moving into some amendeds on the Spalding Hall property. So 21-156 is our first one of these. And I know David Hayden's with us because I saw his name up there. This is a request by the applicant to install columns to match pre-existing columns, to amend, excuse me, the installment of the columns by increasing the height to 20 inches and have a stone ball on top of the property, which the sketch is attached to this. May I have discussion on this?
Can I explain it real quickly?
There you are.
These columns, I had approved previously to be 62-inch tall columns, similar to the parking lot at St. Joe Church. And then I decided I wanted to change and make the columns look identical to the columns on the walkway of St. Joe Church, which are taller. They're about 82 inches plus the snowball on top. So I'm just asking that you allow us to take the columns on up. I've already started the columns. I did that because the fence, the iron fence that you've already approved, was supposed to have already gone in. and they have to basically build all the way up to the column. So I went ahead and built 48 inches of the column that had been approved so far. So I just want to continue the columns on up to look like the entrance to the walkway off of Stephen Foster to St. Joe Church.
Okay. Do I have discussion of this? I'm trying to find my notes. I went and measured those columns, and I did not agree with the heights that you just said. Did anybody else measure them? The base is 30 by 30 as of the ones that we're dealing with. The column itself is 80.5 inches tall, and it's a half circle on top, and it's 6 inches tall. So the total height is 86.5 inches on the entrance to the church out on Stephen Foster.
Okay. The existing columns all around the church are 62 inches in height.
Yeah.
The one going in front of the church, what did you measure? 82 inches?
80 plus the half circle is 6. So if you include the, just a minute, I've got something going screwy on my computer.
Yeah, the snowball on top is at least 15 inches of height.
Out in front of the church, it's 6 inches. I measured it. I didn't get a ladder. I can get a ladder next time. Anyway.
But they'll be identical, whatever it is. We're going to get those specially made by a stonemason to make them identical to what's in front of St. Joe Church.
So I'd like to hear, before I say my piece, I'd like to hear what the rest of the board is thinking about this.
My question is, you want the two entrances, whether it's a pedestrian entrance or the driving entrance, to match.
No.
Yes.
That's not correct. He's talking about the entrance on Stephen Foster that is the walking entrance to the front doors of the cathedral.
Yes. No,
that's not the driveway. The driveway's lower.
That's
And
considered
then, please.
considered entrance columns in front of church,
Yes.
and these are entrance columns to the parking lot on the side of church.
So you're trying to make those identical both places,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
I think it's unnecessary that it would actually distract from the entrance, the primary entrance, which faces the cathedral and the walkway that goes to that. But I'm just one member of the board, so I need to hear from the other members of the board.
Now, St. Joe Church, Father Terry, and others on the committee are all for this. And it's extra money to us. We're not demanding we do this. We're not looking for places to spend money. We're trying to do what is right.
Correct. And
in
that's
our opinion, in our
and
committee's opinion.
We are looking at historical features and historical design and keeping the viewscape positive and in keeping with historic values, and not making there's a phrase in our book that says not to make artificial. I forget what that is, Rashay, but there's a phrase.
Do you not like the columns in front of church that have been there forever?
I like them where they are, yes. I don't like them any other place.
The columns in the parking lot are relatively new, somewhat
Correct.
new. The ones in front of church are historic.
Correct.
Tall ones.
And we approved, as a board, we have approved the height of the columns in the parking lot. And my vote is to keep the current height that was approved for the parking lot, rather than making them over grand for this approach?
Well, this has been designed by an architect out of Lexington, which we're paying for. And we sent you all drawings. We're showing the statue elevated. It's on the mound of dirt to be elevated 3 feet. We got a stone pedestal and a full life-size bronze statue of St. Joe going in with shrubs going behind it to show off. We want to show off this statue, and we're putting the iron fence out next to the street with shrubs behind it. We're putting trees in the parking lot, 3 trees to break the.
Yes.
We put a lot of thought into this, and I'd be very disappointed that we don't trust our architects to come up with what, in our opinion, is right or wrong.
I would like to just add my opinion, which I really don't have a problem with having the whatever you call them, the columns, the same sizes. I think it blends, it's harmonious. I don't think it is, too showy. So for me, it's a good look and it's not offensive. And I really don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The signs, the other columns along the fence are just posts. There's no need to make them all that big, but I would call this an entrance, the same as the pedestrian entrance in front of the church. This is also an entrance, and those columns have a function other than just holding the fence up. They are there to be the end caps to the fence. And I'm fine with them matching the front columns personally.
I would take issue if it was going taller than what was already there, but we're talking about matching what's already there on a different side and a different entrance.
Yes, that we had not discussed before, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we need to, well, I haven't heard from Susan yet, so please.
I walked by there today and looked at all of it. It looks to me like it would match what's already there. I don't really have a problem with that.
Okay.
I didn't measure anything. I just visually looked at the entire property just to see how it would all blend together.
And okay, that's good. So shall we entertain a motion then?
I'll move to approve COA 21-156 amended with the following conditions. My motion is based on the findings that the columns are consistent with masonry standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I would like to add a condition that they need to equal the height of the columns in the front of the Church of St. Joseph's and not to exceed the height of that column and of the half sphere on the top. Okay. With that condition, may I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? And I'll vote opposed.
Well, didn't you just make the motion approving with the following condition?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
No, it was Nick.
I added a condition to a motion that was made.
Yes.
I added a condition, period. Oh, I mean, it doesn't make a difference. I'm not in favor of this. I want that on the record. And it's, the legal way to do that is to vote nay. correct?
It's fine. I was just confused because I thought that when you added that condition to the approval, you tacitly approve the condition. If
I
it's-
in no way approve.
Okay.
Isn't this kind of a moot point? You got 4 affirmatives and 1.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So that then is approved after the next city council meets. And our next item agenda is 159. And this is a request to install 8 gas light fixtures at Spalding Hall, which is a change in the number.
Yes, we've gone back with their architect again, and I've sent you a drawing, a plan that she's developed showing where the light columns would go along where the current 6 benches are. We have added another bench knockout and bricked it recently. So we have 8 potential areas for benches, but we're recommending or suggesting we want to put a light on the corner of each of those 8 knockouts, a gas lantern on each of those 8.
The same lantern we've already approved, correct?
A gas lantern, yes.
So you just want to do 8 instead of 6?
Well, we raised it 8 along the walkway, but ideally we would change the balls in front of Spalding Hall to a gas lantern.
Those are not allowed to be touched because of their historic presence and relevance to the building.
Well, I understand they are 50 years old, but I also understand the gas lanterns were there before. Before.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. We had this discussion, Rashay, I believe, a couple of months ago.
So, yes, so it says to retain historic light fixtures. So the 2 original light fixtures at the front of the building, I do not believe should be modified.
Okay.
So we are talking, as this application says, we're talking about the 8, putting 8 rather than 6 on the walkway to Spalding Hall.
Correct.
Any discussions?
This is the same style as what we had before, just changing it to gas and adding 2, right?
Yes. Just the number.
It was already approved to be gas.
Oh, okay.
I think I sent the drawing also, a sketch showing the height, 90-inch pole with a 30-inch light fixture on top.
Is there someone that is willing to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of COA 21-159 amended. Motion is based on the following findings. The lamp posts are consistent with the lighting standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have another then is 171. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me check my right list here. I've got the wrong list in front of me.
So we're at 157 amended 2, yeah.
Yeah, 157. I have to find it. Okay, 157 amended is the applicant requests to install columns at Spalding Hall. The design has been added on from the previous application. The total height of the columns is requested is 7 feet 10 inches with the width 2 feet 6 inches. Discussion, please.
David, is that what you already kind of have there now, just to show us what it looks like?
You mean today?
I walked by there today, yes.
Yes, yes, I made a replica out of plywood.
I saw
and
that.
That's to show you, that's the recommended from the architect, that size and the location. But I can move that box around. If anybody likes the size, I can move it further away from the sidewalk, either way, but we've got it butted up against the sidewalk of Spalding Hall and the city sidewalk. So
has the state ever given us permission to move the state sign?
Yes, it's down on the ground, and they want to put it back up themselves and put a new pole under it.
Okay.
As soon as we get the columns figured out, they will come back and put the state marker back up.
Okay. Thank you.
I got an email string on that just for you all if you need to see it.
Okay.
Our thinking was that was there at one time. There was guard shacks, there was gates, and there was a fence all around the property. When it was an orphanage.
A wall, yeah.
A wall. So we're just going to put up a small segment, not trying to duplicate the wall or the orphanage wall or the guard shack, but give it some mystique. We want tourists to come and find this an experience, a place to come visit.
And David, can this total height of these columns be the same as the total height of the columns that were just approved?
Yeah.
Because
no problem with that. I'm just going by what the architect did, but what is the height? 7'10", you said?
That's what your drawings say.
And in front of church was
86 inches.
Plus the ball?
No, that's 6 inches of that is the ball. It's 80
I
and a
can't
half.
calculate very good, but what is the difference in the height, those two?
Oh, okay, 86 to the
Well,
tip. And this one's 710. 712 is 84, 94, 6 from 14. It's 8 inches taller.
The ones in front of Spalding Hall are 8 inches taller?
Yes, your diagram is 8 inches taller.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that, changing anything significantly. I don't think it does.
And can the top of it also look like the top of the ones for the church?
They could, but I don't really like the snowball. I like the angle, and like on the top of their Spalding Hall and our church, it comes up at an angle. The snowball is weird. I don't know who designed that. It was done many years ago.
Downtown.
But the cap, Susan, you saw today looks dark, like it might be shingles.
Yes.
But I'm going to get a stone cap, 4 pieces we're going to put together to make it up at a point, not quite as steep as that point is today.
So it would all be stone.
Oh, yes. That's definitely what I want. And that's our intention.
It looks like we need to put a soldier with a guard standing next to that with that top on it. That's why I was asking if we could.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, a cap that's stone that's not quite as pointed.
It's so severe looking.
Yeah.
I don't see it as being attractive to Spalding Hall. It'll make a statement. It will make a statement.
Yeah.
Isn't this supposed to harken back to something that from the past, from the history of Spalding Hall?
Yeah, it looked kind of pointed back in those days. Personally, I don't care for that. I'd rather have a less pointed cap on top.
It was to keep the children in the orphanage. So, you know, to me, it looks like a prison. So am not comfortable with it. But I'm just one person.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. It does look like a prison, and you know, I'm not going to say the next part, but at some point that was a guardhouse to keep the inside in and the outside out. And the new proposed structure looks like the old structure, just not quite as imposing. It's more like, you know, a whisper of it. I don't know. I'm not that offended by it.
So we're trying to send the same message, keep people in and keep people out.
I wouldn't say that. It is just at one point, the history of that building was to do that. And the history of those columns were to do that. And I don't know what's inappropriate about columns.
Definitely our intent is not to keep people out. We want the mystique. People walk down Flagey, that park, the tourists up in town. And I witnessed it tonight. The neighbors were telling me that live on the corner of the old Live Walton house. They constantly see people walk to the end of Flagey and just look over. There's no sidewalk. There's nothing tells them it's what it is. It's not open. They turn around and go back. We want them to be in, see some mystique and want to walk across the street and see what is on the interpretive signs and what this is all about behind these columns, and hopefully have an open sign out closer to the street where people know, let's come on in and visit us, look at our interpretive signs and come into our museum and spend a few hours killing time while others in your group are going to visit the distilleries that you don't want to maybe attend. So we're trying to create another experience and give people some options. And so that, I guess we're just trying to create an experience and show off St. Joe Church, Flagey Hall, Spalding Hall. And at some point, we will have a roundabout in front of church with something out in front of it at the entry, a gateway to our community. And Fifth Street will be more attractive. It'll be a walking area for tourists. All the way up to Bardstown High School, we planted shrubs and put up some lights in front of City Hall. We put shrubs around City Hall and the fire department. And we're putting up the iron fence. And
so we're looking at these columns now.
Okay.
And board.
So did we decide if the columns would match the total height of the other columns that is that a possibility?
He stated that was possible.
So that would be only difference. 8 inches shorter. Sorry, that would be 8 inches shorter than what it's proposed right now.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem with the scale of that. I mean, it kind of says, here's the walkway, here's the entrance. This is where you walk.
Is there a way to do the top that would not be quite as extreme? I guess my question would be, David.
Oh, you can put a totally flat top on it. And at one time I thought about a flat top with lanterns, gas lanterns, but that just becomes an attractive nuisance for kids to throw beer bottles at that close to the street.
I agree.
I used to do that myself, so I know it does happen. So we decided to go back with what was somewhat historical. It was more conical when they had the orphanage there, but that was a little too extreme. We don't want to try to duplicate what was there. We're just trying to give people some idea. Then hopefully we'd have an interpretive sign up there in the area. It would show what the orphanage looked like with the columns and the wall around it. Then it makes you want to learn more as you walk on down the walkway. Eventually you walk into Spalding Hall, the Gas Museum.
Do I have any motion on the columns? Do I have a motion to table?
I'm ready to roll. I'll move to recommend approval of COA 21-157 amended with the following conditions. My motion is based on the following findings. The columns are consistent with the masonry standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual, and these columns will not be any larger than what has already been approved. Is that correct? Any taller?
It's 8
That's
inches
correct.
shorter than what's proposed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they'll be no larger than what was previously approved.
Mr. Hayden, were you were listening when it was asked if the top could be a little softer? Would you entertain us putting that in the motion so that staff approve a softer?
Definitely, yes, yes. I want her, yes, feedback. I want,
And then you
I would
wouldn't
like
have
to be happy with this.
that you wouldn't have to come through the whole
Yes.
session again.
And I don't want to confuse things, but I do not like the ball. And it's just what's in front of the church. I'm going to have one made and it's going to be expensive, but it is what's already there. So I'm trying to duplicate what's already in front of the church. It's not my favorite.
So with this one, Rashay, would you be comfortable with we know it's going to be a 4-sided figure on the top of the pillar, but a somewhat softer angle wise. Would you?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
A short pyramid.
Yeah.
Short pyramid. Well, I'll second that.
Okay. So we do have a motion made by Nick Kipper and seconded by Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Suzanne, you're so quiet. Are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, good.
Nick, I can't see you though. Is there any way to get your camera working?
Oh, sorry. There I am. Well, no, I'm not.
No, you are. Okay.
Look better blank.
Okay. So that was 157. So now we're to go to COA 211, talking about the request to install a fence to match a fence that is going to be put up to edge the parking lot at 114 North 5th, so 211. I got to close and reopen here. And Mr. Hayden, I know when we originally discussed and passed installing the columns out in the entrance to the driveway at St. Joseph's Church, and we talked about the fence that is then going to come from the corner of Stephen Foster 5th Street all the way up and the bushes there and join the fence. We then talked about the post on the right-hand side, the column, and that we did not want an extensive fence attached to that. And we said it would come out and then turn at, I think, a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
you were still in memory of that. Because at the time, the board were all very comfortable with that design. We talked about not continuing the fence across the front of Spalding Hall, how we did not want to enclose that and lessen the view towards Spalding Hall.
Okay. I don't remember that last part, but that's okay. I really thought the fence would have gone up, but they've had trouble like everybody else with supplies.
Sure.
And you could have seen that for a few weeks. But since you haven't seen it, it's going to be hard to accept more of it.
Well,
I think once we get it built, maybe someday I'll come back, you all might say, we want more of that. You might.
So you're willing to
can I,
drop this for now? And
unless I could gauge your all's reaction, anybody in favor of it? Anybody think it's a good idea or?
Not at the moment.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. Let's get the fence at St. Joe put up, then maybe you'll want more of it.
okay, so we'll table this until after the installation.
Yes.
Well, actually, if we can make a motion to deny, that would be clearer for me in the record.
Okay,
So
so
Dorsey, how many times can I come back and ask?
You can come back and ask. There's no limit
Okay,
to, as
thank
far
you.
as I know.
and you haven't asked for this piece yet.
No.
So we're still okay there.
Okay,
So may I have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to deny COA 21-211.
and do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded to deny 21-211. All in favor? Aye. Okay, did everybody respond? Okay. Okay, so we have that one denied, and then we have 21-212. And this is to discuss the interpretive signs again at Spalding Hall. And I think we were all here except Susan when we had this last, and Mr. Hayden to review that when we discussed this before. The board was unanimous in saying that we did not approve of interpretive signs on the lawn of Spalding Hall, and that it greatly detracted from the look of the hall and my word, serenity of the approach. We had discussed that it might be possible to have one general post off to the side where you put those big limestones that you moved from the parking lot, and you made the ring over next to the prayer garden between the restaurant and the parish hall, the priest's residence. And we had talked about you having a kiosk or something there that you could put the little computer chips on that people use to read their phones.
right.
So,
But again, we're trying to create an experience, and we're showing, putting two of those interpretive signs directly across from a bench. There'll be a light pole with two interpretive signs and a bench directly opposite. At the time, Spalding Hall had ferns, gigantic ferns, and half-barrel bourbon barrels along the walkway. I got rid of those. I'm on that committee, Spalding Hall committee, and they're okay with these interpretive signs, by the way. So I got rid of the clutter, I think was what one word you all used. We got rid of that clutter. These signs will be slightly taller than a bench, and they'll be as thin as a bench. If the benches are bothering you today, well, they're going to look similar to a bench from the end of the hallway, end of the walkway. You can see the edge of a 20-inch tall, 20-inch sign, less than 2 foot at a diagonal.
okay, and as we spoke on our previous meeting, the board had felt like no signs should be in front of Spalding Hall, but if any signs were allowed, that they would have to relate to Spalding Hall itself. All the signs that you're talking about are about the Kentucky Holy Lands, which I know your goals in that, and that's a neat idea, but historically, we felt as a board that that was not the appropriate place for any of those interpretive signs.
But it's
do I have-
educational, right?
Please.
These are educational, and
Yeah, but
they're not to promote Spalding Hall. That's a regulation says you cannot have over one sign in front of a historic building, right? But this is for, it's not to promote Spalding Hall. It's to.
No, it would have to be. As a board, we said nothing else would be in front unless it pertained to the history of that particular building. I would like to hear from some other board members.
I was not involved in this, so I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't either.
And I knew Susan wasn't. So Josh, I don't know if Nick was here yet.
That may have been my first meeting, or I can't remember if I was actually in that meeting or if I was just auditing. There was one meeting.
Yes.
Started, and I think this was the one.
Yeah.
And as far as the tourists getting on their cell phone, I've run that by several in the community. A lot of folks are my age and they don't use their cell phone like that. And
yeah, I was going to say you need to talk to the 20 to 40-year-olds.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're out and about, we want them to have an experience of walking down, have something to do to walk down the walkway and read about these other places of interest in our community, and would have a phone number like for Gethsemane, for visits, and a little bit of history of
now,
our communities.
They already have all those brochures. I know all those brochures are at the visitor center, and I believe all those brochures are also in a stand-up rack inside Spalding Hall, right when you come in the door. Where
if you ever get to Spalding Hall, what's to draw you down Spalding Hall? What's to increase tourism?
The beauty of the location, which is what we're trying to preserve. There's never.
Spalding Hall is okay with this idea, and I think others that we've talked to, I've talked to in the community, think it's a great idea. We're trying to increase tourism, give them more experiences, places to go, sit on our benches, sit under our candlelight or our light, be able to see signs, and have something other than a long walkway to go down to see Spalding Hall. Something to lure them to want to walk down there and see more and more. Then all of a sudden they're at the door of Spalding Hall. They don't just Google and say, I'm going to, and Spalding Hall pops up and I want to go visit there. At least I don't think they do.
Which a whole lot of people do. Yeah.
So is this more of a tourism question that?
No, it's inappropriate for the front of a historic building.
You sure? Based on what? Can somebody else talk? I was told we cannot put up signs talking about Spalding Hall in front of this building. We had to talk about something else.
Mr. Hay, no. What you're thinking of is if I have a restaurant or a business, I can only have 2 signs that say Pat's Restaurant. But that's not what we're talking about here. This is completely unrelated to the building in the area, which you have said numerous times. It is just an informational sign that has absolutely nothing to do with Spalding Hall. And we are in looking after guardians of the historic preservation of the city of Bardstown. And this actually, it has nothing to do with the city of Bardstown either and historic preservation. I love the Kentucky Holy Lands. I take people on tours of them all the time. I can give you a 30-minute or an hour presentation on the Kentucky Holy Lands. But I know it doesn't have anything to do with Spalding Hall. It's not part of the package.
I just have a question. Where, and I'm genuinely asking this question.
Yes.
Where does it say all these things that you've described?
The sign.
So Suzanne, the sign ordinance, the maximum number for signs for any buildings is 3.
Okay.
And
I saw
so,
that.
yeah, so there's a maximum number of signage that's allowable per building. And actually in the historic district, it's 2, which Spalding Hall has more than that already because of the extensive size and multiple entrances, which was allowed via circumstance because of that. But we are limited to the amount of signage that we can particularly have. And in the city sign ordinance, there's only 3 building signs that can be pertained for any building, and 1 freestanding sign. And then usually, but then within that, we usually deter freestanding signs in historic districts unless there's one that already exists. So
I'm fine with that. You know, this is about signs, but I don't think it's really not about.
I don't consider these to be signs. I consider these to be placards or markers.
Okay.
And we don't do placards or markers in the historic district.
we don't have any means to approve them per our guidelines currently. It doesn't say anything about placards within the sign guidelines.
Placards, Cream Drugstore, talking about the history of Cream Drugstore. David Hall made
the state signs.
No, I think those
David
are the
Hall.
homemade ones that David Hall made, right, David? Like those that are downtown. There's small wooden ones that are attached to certain buildings that describe the history of those certain buildings. Those have been allowed and they've been there for many, many, many years, but
I mean, if we are at the place where we have no way to approve or disapprove, well, that's an answer. But we shouldn't be, spending all this time on it, and either the rules have to change or not. But I mean, that's the answer.
I'm with Susan. If we don't have any means to approve, then we don't have any means to disapprove either.
Yeah.
well, the side guidelines are there for everyone to take a look at. It's just not been something that's ever been requested before. We've never had a request for placards of informational usage to be done before. So I don't think that the guidelines specifically reach out to that. Only that it limits the number of signs that we can have.
And Spalding Hall already has that number.
talking about what's in that building. You don't want 10 pizza signs in front of a building. You got one that says historic building. But we're not speaking of touting what's in that building. We're just talking about what else is going on in the community, sites of interest.
And as Rashay said, we have no verbiage. We have no way to approve a placard. If we want to change the name from a sign to the word that Nick used, it doesn't exist in any regulations.
But then how can we disapprove that?
Exactly. Because it's not here to approve.
There's also just the consideration of whether or not it's deemed appropriate. You know, making something into a walkway with signage that wasn't historically there, you know, is something that has to be considered. You know, there's no way the guidelines can cover everything. There's no way it can ever meet 100% of the possibilities always. But there's a level of integrity that has to be considered always with the buildings. Are we protecting the integrity of the building, or are we dismantling it by allowing something to be there? There's the question of whether or not the appropriateness is there. Is it appropriate to have this type of signage referring to other places other than the site that's listed there and talking about that historically? There's a lot of context to that can be concluded, but definitely right now, what the guidelines do limit is the number of signs. And we've reached that maximum.
Well, I mean, personally, I think appropriateness is probably a better place to debate and firmer ground to stand on that you brought up.
I think we've gone a long way to enhance, in some of these other projects that we're doing or that they're doing and that we've approved. And I think at this point in time, I think we stick with that. And I think what he's wanting to do can be achieved in a more efficient way, maybe if it's studied on a little bit more as we go forward.
Would there be a chance of putting a sign up showing the orphanage in the wall?
Putting
and
one
column,
sign up.
please? Putting up an interpretive sign showing the wall and the columns in the orphanage at the entrance.
I like Josh's idea of letting everything we've discussed so far get in place and seeing the overall picture that we have, even before we talk about the orphanage. And maybe that will give us time to see if there are any other parameters. We know we can't do it as a sign because there are already too many signs. So we would have to go out in the ether someplace and find other guidance, other guidelines or regs that help us figure this out.
I do like the idea more of having something telling the history of the building than I do with having something advertising other venues.
And I like the concept, but we're not allowed to add any more signs.
Right.
So we have to
I was
step
just
back.
putting my 2 cents worth about,
Yes,
to give
yes.
that information to
Yeah,
David.
that's an excellent point.
But right. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and how these are defined. That's another question too. Are these defined as signs? That's a whole nother question that I don't know that we have the capability of doing. I agree. I don't think that there should be signs advertising other places in a location that is, that's just my historic context and background. I don't feel that having something there advertising other locations is something that necessarily will be proactive for the site or be historically accurate for the site, because there wasn't this there to begin with. If we had information that they're like the columns used to be there. If we had information that the signage or some form of signage used to be there or something, maybe that's something we could take into context. But I don't feel that.
We're not trying to advertise the other locations. We're trying to show that all these buildings were built in 1810 to 1820, not just St. Joe, Spalding Hall, Flagey Hall, but St. Thomas, Gethsemane, the Sisters of the Almighty Mother House, Dominican Sisters, Nazareth, all these buildings were built. And we're going to show the architecture of those buildings, along with some words, some narrative, and with a little, if you want to call this number for a tour, if there's tours available. So it's not really, we're not advertising. We're just showing some of the neat things we got, neat buildings we got in our community, surrounding communities, things to do.
Is that something you could maybe put inside Spalding Hall? Of course, I know you're trying to get people to come into Spalding Hall, but maybe that would be something that could be on display inside once they got into the doors.
Yeah, could, but yeah, you could. But it's cluttered already, Getz Museum is packed.
Right.
And I'm sure the Getz is not going to want advertising for other places. That's their museum. They help pay for it. So they have say on what goes in the museum.
So Dr. Blackman, are you able to make a motion?
Right, yeah, sure. I'll make the motion to recommend denial of COA 21-212 based on the following findings: that the interpretive signs are not consistent with the sign standards set forth in Section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Everyone in favor? Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? So the motion passes. So that finishes the public portion of our meeting. We are going over some provisional approvals, some staff approvals now. If you'd like to continue to listen, that's
No, thanks.
fine.
Thank you all.
Thank you, David.
Good night. And you can see on your agenda the 3 different COAs that Riche staff approved. The Brown and Cheek have been able to replace their tree that had to come down earlier for disease. Do we have to vote on each one? We just do this as a group, right?
No, we vote on each one separately because they each have separate motions that have to be read
Which numbers?
specifically.
Okay.
Which number is this one?
210.
210.
Is there any discussion about that tree that I allowed to be replaced?
No, it seemed very appropriate. And not for the record, but Riche, when we were talking, well, Suzanne might remember in that other meeting, they were saying how you put all of these under one and you just, there's a phrase you use that then approves them all. So just not tonight, but for future ease.
Yeah, and I don't know how I can do that though when they have separate motions because they're under different guidelines. So see, one's a landscaping option, one is a garage, is a door option, and then the other one would be a roof one.
Yeah.
So it would be approved under those standards. So I don't know if we can do that ever, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's something I just want to
Yeah.
check on for the future. I'm sorry to slow things down. Okay, so 210 was the tree replacement. May I entertain a motion?
I move to recommend approval of COA 21-210 with following conditions. My motion is made based upon the following findings. The planting of the new tree is consistent with landscaping standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that is approved. Then we can go to 213. And this is the applicant at 116 West Broadway requests to change the garage door to his property. And there's a picture of the old and the new garage door that was included. May I entertain a motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-213 with the following conditions: that the garage doors are consistent with the door design standards and new construction standards set forth in section 4 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Second.
So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. So that motion is passed. Let us now look at COA 21-171, which is the Ballards amended to add the roofing for the rear side addition to the house over the concrete patio at the back of the property. And this was shown in a diagram in this file. Do we need discussion, or may I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of COA 21-171 amended. Motion is based on the following findings. The new construction of the roof is consistent with the new construction standards set forth in section 5 of the Bardstown Historic Design Review Manual.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's the end of our COAs. Do we have any new business?
Yes, so there's just an update. We're meeting, we've have been contracted with Cardinal, which is a group which specifically Miss Rachel Kennedy, who used to work at the Kentucky Heritage Council, and I know her very well, to look at our guidelines and make corrections and update those. And so we're under discussion about how that's going to go forward. And she plans on attending the December meeting to just do a brief synopsis of that and kind of go over, you know, her plans with that. So I'm hoping that she'll be here for the December meeting to kind of update you guys on what we've been talking about.
Very good.
And we may be in person. I'm not for sure. We're leaning toward that. So the next meeting may be in person, but I'll let you all know for sure as soon as I know.
And just FYI, I guess she'll talk first before we have the meeting.
No, she'll probably, I'll clarify that, but I think she's going to talk at the end because she wants to see how our meetings work.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
That would work better, I think, if she talked after that, but
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So any old business for us?
No.
Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:02 p.m.?
So moved.
Okay, the motion.
Second.